Here's something you were never taught. In 1896, an African army defeated a European colonial power so decisively that it forced them to sign a treaty. That's right. On March 1, 1896, at the Battle of Adwa, Emperor Menelik II and Queen Tetu led 100,000 Ethiopian troops to crush 20,000 Italian soldiers. 7,000 Italians died. 4,000 were captured. And Italy had no choice but to recognize Ethiopia as independent. This wasn't just a battle. It was the only time during the so-called scramble for Africa that a European power was humiliated into signing a treaty with an African nation. But why don't we know this story? Because history isn't just about what happened. It's about who gets to tell it. For centuries, African history was written by colonizers. But now, audio documentaries are bringing these hidden truths to light. Let's start with the Kingdom of Kush. You've heard of ancient Egypt, but what about its southern neighbor? The Kushites built pyramids, ruled Egypt for a century, and their queen, Amenarinas, famously defeated the Romans in 24 BC. Their capital, Napata, thrived as early as 750 BC. Yet their story was buried under the sands of time until audio documentaries like the BBC's The Lost Kingdoms of Africa resurrected it. Then there's World War I. Most of us think of trenches in Europe. But over 2 million African soldiers fought in that war. In East Africa alone, 150,000 died, many from disease and starvation, in a brutal campaign led by German commander Letoverbeck. The Battle of Tanga in 1916 was a disaster for the British, yet this entire theater of war is barely mentioned in textbooks. Audio documentaries like Africa's Great War are changing that. And let's talk about the scramble for Africa. From November 15, 1884, to February 26, 1885, 14 European nations sat in Berlin and carved up a continent without a single African in the room. The consequences were catastrophic. In the Congo Free State, under King Leopold II, an estimated 10 million people died. But Belgium hid the archives until the 1990s. Audio documentaries like Sankofa are now exposing these suppressed horrors. So why does this matter today? Because history shapes identity. When Ghana launched its Year of Return campaign in 2019, audio documentaries about Elmina Castle, built in 1482 as a slave trading post, drew diaspora visitors back to their roots. In South Africa and Kenya, schools are replacing colonial textbooks with audio histories of figures like Steve Biko and Patrice Lumumba. The fight over history is the fight over the future. Here's the bigger picture: African history isn't a footnote. It's a cornerstone of human civilization. From the iron smelting of the Nok culture in 500 BC to the diplomatic brilliance of the Ashanti Empire in 1824, these stories redefine what we think we know. So next time you hear about Africa, ask yourself, who's telling the story? And what are they leaving out?